And welcome to the Torah Outreach Program, Erev Shabbos Burst of Inspiration. Today's Burst of Inspiration is sponsored by a group of students, former students, although I don't like to say the word former. Once you're a student in yeshiva and a Torah institution, you're always a student there. But a group of students from my time and other times of Yeshiva's Merkaz Torah, yeshiva that I was privileged to learn in for many years. It was sponsored, the Eloi Nishmas, and in memory of Harav Tzvi Aryeh Ben Chaim Shmuel Alevi, Rabbi Aryeh Rotman, my Rebbe and mentor, and the Rebbe and mentor of many of us. To this day, much of what I say and teach are ideas that I got from Rav Rotman, and a lot of how I conduct my life, at least I try to conduct my life, in the ways that I was taught by Rav Rotman. Matter of fact, the Torah Outreach Program, before launching it, I spoke to Rav Rotman about it. I wanted to get his blessing. And he told me that when he became a rabbi in Miami Beach, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, who at that time was one of the Gedolei Ador, the greatest rabbis of the time, said to him, a lot of people tend to forget the elderly. Don't forget them. Focus a lot of your attention on the elderly, which is what the Torah Outreach Program does, and which was a lesson I learned from my teacher. In honor of Rav Rotman's Yortzeit, instead of saying something that I prepared, I have something that he prepared. I'd like to say over something that I learned from Rav Rotman on this week's Parsha, Parshas Vayeshev, that when Yosef was stolen to slavery, he was bought by a man named Potiphar, who was the chief butcher for Paro, an idol worshiper, not a good person. But being that Yosef was so successful in everything he did, Potiphar allowed him to have free reign. He was the chief of staff of Potiphar. He was in control of everything. And it seemed that everything went so well under Yosef. And Potiphar said about him that God's with him. He saw Hashem Imo, God is with him. Where do you see this from? How was he so, how did he recognize God's presence with Yosef? He was an idol worshiper. What did he know? Rashi says it was because of the way Yosef spoke. Everything was Baruch Hashem. Thank God. Be'ezus Hashem. God willing. He had God's name on his lips. He gave credit to God for his successes, and he prayed to God for his efforts. And Potiphar saw that, and he saw that the outcome was very positive. And that this young man who was sold down as a slave is a very respectful, refined individual and someone he can trust. And the reason for his respect, his respectful presence, is because his connection to his God. The Ramban says a little bit differently. The Ramban says he saw a godly presence around Yosef. What does that mean? That because of Yosef, things were working very well. And that was the godly presence that he saw. Rav Rahman said these two are not contradicting each other at all. Rashi and the Ramban are just complementing each other. Because we can go back to the original question. What is it that Potiphar saw? Godly presence. What does that mean? He saw the way Yosef handled himself and the way Yosef had God's name on his lips and was always giving credit, not to himself, but to God. And therefore, he saw the success that came from it, which made Potiphar notice who this man was, and that this man was close to his God. So Rabbi told us that there are many things we can learn from this. First of all, a person should have this expression, Baruch Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem, constantly emphasizing and strengthening our connection to the Ribono Shel Olam and our need of his watching over us and guiding our lives and being grateful. But also humility, the sense of humility is not me. My accomplishments are not me. My accomplishments are the Ribono Shel Olam. God is the one who makes me accomplish. A lot of people will think the opposite, that he's humbling himself so much, and people will say, oh, this guy can't do much. Just the opposite. When a person has a sense of humility, realizing where everything comes from, it gives him this sense of respect in other people's eyes. That it's not all about him. It's all about God. These were the lessons that I learned over the years from my Rebbe. And I hope, and I'm sure, that the Torah learned from this video and from the Torah Outreach Program will continue to be a schus, a merit, for the very special neshama of Tzvi Aryeh Ben Chaim Shmuel Halevi. Jumps.